Alright, hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today I will be talking about my BELO BETTY deck list that I went 6-0 in a 250 player tournament and a local that was held by NoHeroes. It was an online tournament, just a couple, I think it was 6 rounds, yeah, so 6 rounds, and I happened to go undefeated. So today we'll be going a bit more in depth in this deck list. It is the same deck list that I brought to Nationals. So if you already see my Nationals video, then you know the deck list. But I will be going a little bit more in depth in every choice that I made and all of the decks and the different combos that you can do that are really strong in this deck that people usually don't think about. So let's jump straight into the deck list. Alright, here it is. This is the deck list. As you can see, we're running a super consistent build with a bunch of 4-offs and then just a single 2-off in Bunny Joe. But let's start off talking about the leader, right? So if you don't know, BELO BETTY's leader ability is that once per turn, on your turn, you may discard one Revolutionary Army type card from your hand, and then you can give up to 3 of your characters plus 3,000 powers if those characters are Revolutionary Army type or they have a trigger. So every card that is Revolutionary Army type or have a trigger can get up to 3,000 powers. So that is the leader ability. Very strong, very aggressive deck. This is a red-yellow leader, so you can take advantage of all the yellow good trigger cards while also getting all the Revolutionary Armies on the red side. Then we're gonna jump into Inazuma. So Inazuma is one of the cards that actually came in incredibly clutch for me during this tournament. In the finals, the only reason I was able to win was because I had double Inazuma in my hand and was able to boost like more characters, right? I could boost an extra 2 characters and he becomes 7k with the boost, and that's obviously a magic number and very strong. So the reason Inazuma is great is because Rush in general is very strong in BELO BETTY because you want to get the most out of your leader ability, so you want to just use it when you have preferably 3 targets for your leader ability. But let's say you only have 2. Let's say you only have 2 characters out, right? Then it's not good, not optimal to use your leader ability. But then you just play Inazuma first, and then use your leader ability, and then you get full value out of it, right? So that's why Inazuma is great. A 7k swing for 3 is incredibly powerful, and that's why we play 4 of Inazuma. Moving on to Ivankov. Ivankov is one of your main like combo pieces in this entire deck. Ivankov lets you go a lot wider than you would usually be able to do, and wide very early as well, so that your opponent can like struggles to keep up. Which is really the point of this deck, which is why I went with this deck in general, because I wanted to go strongly into Sakazuki. And going into Sakazuki means you need to get a bunch of bodies out as like faster than they can remove them, right? Otherwise you're stuck in this loop where they're just, you know, gaining value on you every turn. So Ivankov into another 4-cost is really strong, right? If you don't know, Ivankov's ability is that if he has 7,000 power or more, you may play up to 1 Revolutionary Army type character with less than 5,000 power from your hand, except for Ivankov. So what you do is that you play Ivankov and then you play another card, and then you have 4 costs out, and Sakazuki actually can't get rid of that on his 5-cost turn, 5-don turn, right? Because his combo would usually be like Lucci, whatever, Great Eruption, Lucci, but that's not enough to take rid of 2 4-cost characters. So that's one way to kind of keep up against Sakazuki. So what you usually would do in a game, right, is that you would go your turn 1 play, you would play something, and then you on 4 dawn you'll play Ivankov, and you will use your leader ability straight away, even if you only have 2 targets. That way you can get something out with Ivankov early, and then you can also swing with your character and your leader and apply a lot of pressure very early. So that is why Ivankov is great in this deck. Then we have Karasu. Karasu, as everyone knows by now, is one of the best cards in the Revolutionary Army type, if not the best card. What he does is on play, as long as your leader is a Revolutionary Army type, you may give -1000 power to one of your opponent's characters or their leader, which is incredibly strong because if you play this and you have a bunch of characters out already, right? You're going to play this, give -1000 to your opponent's leader, and then all of your swings is basically swinging 1000 extra, right? Because his leader is at 4000. And he doesn't only have this on play, he has this when attacking as well. So you play him, and then next turn, when you're attacking, as long as he has 7000 power or more, you can give 1000 to your opponent's leader or any of their characters. So it's a very versatile card, and it works very well in a lot of situations, and especially when you can cheat it out with Ivankov on your 4-Dawn turn, because then your 2 swings that you're doing that turn are enhanced by 2000, right? On base 1000 each. So very, very strong card. Definitely a key piece. Definitely a 4-off in this deck. Then we have Koala. Koala is a 2k counter, which has an on-play effect that is leader specific to Revolutionary Army types. And on play, it gives -3000 to your opponent's characters. So it's basically Otama, but better, because this character actually has power. This is actually a swinger. It has 3000 power, which becomes 6000 with the BELO BETTY leader effect. So it's a 2k, it's a body, it has a good effect. It's an all-in-one package deal here, okay? So Koala, very versatile and works as a 2k. Usually you don't really need 2ks in your hand. So what I usually do if I have Koala in my starting hand and I have nothing else, you want to just play that first turn, even if there's no targets, no nothing, because you're establishing a 3k body, and that's going to be good for next turn. If I didn't mention and you didn't know, you always want to go second with this deck. Going first is a little bit rough because you want to make sure you're on that even curve, so you can start with any of these characters, and then on your second turn you can go Ivankov into a 4-cost. Like you can see, we have a lot of 4-cost characters here and a lot of 2-costs, and that's just the curve. The curve is just even, right? So you want to go second every time you can, and that also helps taking Sakazuki, Katakuri, Enel. Everyone wants to go second in this meta, right? So taking second off of someone is really strong. Going into Bartholomew Kuma, this is kind of a shitty card. It's kind of only played because it has a trigger. Basically, the on play is that you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 2000 power or less. And it works sometimes. I mean, some decks play like Brûlé and stuff, and it works very well there. You also have the combination of playing Koala into Kuma. So for 4-Dawn, you can establish 2 bodies and KO a 5k or less, right? But mostly you play this because it has a trigger, and it's not just any trigger, it's a free trigger. So you don't have to discard a card or anything. As long as your leader is multicolored, you can play this for free. So it's a very strong trigger, right? But moving on, we have Bunny Joe. This is one of the tech options that I run. People usually run Smoothie, but I decided to run Bunny Joe instead. This is really just one of those consistency pieces where you're going to find yourself, if you don't play this card, you're going to find yourself more times than you'd like not having a turn 1 play. Because you're not always going to see BELO BETTY. You're not always going to see Kuma or Koala. And in just literally just adding 2 more cards that go on that curve makes it feel so much more consistent, and you're literally always going to have a turn 1 play. So really good card, and in situations it can actually be a lifesaver, right? If you're seeing that your opponent has some kind of lethal and you're just like, oh, well, I guess I'll just play a blocker. Like, you have the extra blocker in hand just in case. So pretty strong card, actually. I really like it. But I wouldn't play it at more than 2-off because all these other cards are better. But 2-off Bunny Joe is really strong. Then we have BELO BETTY. This is our dedicated searcher. This is also probably one of the best cards in the deck, because not only is it a 1-cost searcher, it is also a 2k body that becomes a 5k body with your leader ability. So it can now swing at leaders, right? So very, very strong. You play this, you want to always mulligan for this card. If you have a really good hand with only like revolutionary armies, that's great, obviously keep that. But most of the time, you want to make sure that your starting hand has one BELO BETTY at least. If you can start with multiple BELO BETTYs, the sickest turn 1 play, right, is to, on 2 Dawn, you play 2 BELO BETTYs, you've searched, so now your hand is big, which is great in BELO BETTY. You want to make sure you keep your hand as healthy as possible. And then next turn, you play Ivankov, and then you can boost 3 characters on your turn 4 play, and then apply a bunch of pressure. Because if you can get a Karasu out, then you're swinging 5k, 5k, and 5k into a 4k leader, which is incredibly powerful. I actually had a game at Nets where I my starting hand was 3 BELO BETTYs. Let's just say that was not pleasant for my opponent, and I absolutely dog-walked him. So that is really strong card. Like the main card in the deck, basically. It's gonna like remove this, and your deck will not work whatsoever. Moving on to Morley. Now we're gonna move into the trigger cards here. The actual like menaces, and the reason this deck is so strong. So we have Morley here. 3 cost, 5,000 power, no counter. It's basically the only counterless card. It is the only counterless character that we play in the entire deck. So usually when I have this in my hand, I will usually just discard it for leader ability if I don't have anything else to discard, because obviously having counter is good and not having counter is pretty yikes. But it's a great card to play if you go first, right? And you have that 3 Dawn turn, and you just drop down a Morley, and it's really good on curve. But you play this mostly because it's a revolutionary army type, and it has a trigger. The trigger is trash 1 card, and if your leader is multicolored, you can play this card. And also, he has an effect that when attacking, if he has 7,000 power or more, your opponent cannot activate blocker. So it's an unblockable swing, and it's going to be big because you boost it up with your leader. So it's a very strong lethal play. But usually you're not going to play Morley. He's a little bit too small. He gets removed very easily. So it's not that much of a threat, unfortunately. But if you can get him off trigger early, very, very strong card. Same goes for Lindbergh here. Also played because it's a revolutionary army type with trigger. But unlike Morley here, this guy actually has counter. And he's actually has a very strong ability, which is when attacking, if he has 7,000 power or more, you can KO a 3k or less. So in combination with Koala, that's a 6k or less. And that's very powerful because that's all of a sudden basically all the blockers in the game, right? Like all the relevant blockers are 6k or less. So he takes care of all the blockers. He can KO like Rebecca's, Brule's by himself. And like brand news, he hits a lot of things with his 3k or less. And then obviously his trigger, very strong to get early, because all of a sudden you have him early and you can already KO like the brand news and like all the searchers, all the small bodies that they played. You can KO them for free like every turn, right? So if you get this on board with a trigger, try to keep him on board as long as possible. As long as you know your opponent is gonna keep playing like smaller monsters, then make sure you keep him on board. Very strong card. Then moving on into our yellow cards, we got Cracker, okay? Cracker, obviously very strong card. I would say this is a necessity in matches where you're playing against people with 5 life leaders, because 5 life leaders tend to survive longer, obviously, and the longer the games draw out, the weaker this deck becomes, and the more advantage your opponent is going to have. So having Cracker out there, if you don't know, Cracker's ability is Dawn X1. As long as you have less life cards than your opponent, he gains double attack as well as 1,000 power. So very strong to just like put a lot of pressure on your opponent. 9 out of 10 times they're going to counter out of it, and that's going to hurt their hand, which is huge. And that makes you hit a lot of other attacks, which is very strong. But yeah, Cracker, great card. Make sure you pick some of these guys up. Very relevant and definitely a strong card in this deck. Obviously, he has trigger as well. Discard 1, play this card. And then we're moving on to Sanji. Sanji is a blocker, but he also has the trigger, the trash 1, and play this card. Sanji is kind of in this deck, because like 9 out of 10 times you're not gonna need a blocker. You're a very aggressive deck. Usually you want to take your own lives. So really not play that often, but he does have a trigger, and he is a 5k body. it's definitely worth playing him. Even if he was just regular vanilla, you'd probably still play him. Very strong card just because it has a trigger, and then the blocker sometimes comes in handy. Moving on to Satori. This is one of the best cards in the deck that is in a Revolutionary Army for sure. It's a 2k counter, 5 cost, with a trigger that is trash 1, play this card. Okay, so obviously this is great because if you get it in your hand, it's a 2k. Great. If you get it in your life, it's a trigger. Great, right? It's a 5k body. Essentially, it's an 8k body with leader ability. Very strong, and it's never a dead card in your hand, right? So it's always good no matter where you see it. Great card all around. And then we're going to move on to our event cards. We only play 4 off one event card, and that is Emporio Tension Hormone. A lot of decks actually don't play this, and I've seen playing this just makes my deck so much more consistent and much more aggressive as well. So basically, this card is a 3-cost event counter, and the counter is plus 3,000 power, and then play 1 Revolutionary Army card from your hand with 5,000 power or less. So that's all of our Revolutionary Army cards, right? And that effect you rarely use. Sometimes going first, it works pretty well because you can like skip on 3 Dawn and your opponent doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, so they just swing, and then you get a Ivankov off before your curve, right? Or like so you get something out before you're supposed to, right? So it can be strong in that way, but that's like the only situation I've ever used it, I think. Or as well, if I'm really trying to avoid getting killed, I'll just keep 3 Dawn up. I have this, and then maybe if I'm crazy, I have this, and I have like a Bunny Joe in hand. That way, for 3 Dawn, you can counter 3k, and then you get a blocker out for the next attack. So very like surprise element there, where you can literally get a blocker out and counter out of an attack when they're not really expecting you to be defensive. So that's one combo that you can use if they're trying to go for lethal. Other than that, this card also has the trigger that is play up to 1 Revolutionary Army card from your hand. So basically the same one as these triggers here, right? You lose 1 card from hand, but you get to play another one. So the only problem with that trigger that makes it worse than these is that you need to have a Revolutionary Army card in your hand, right? But you are most of the time gonna have that. But obviously if you don't, then you get this from trigger. That sucks. But if this is in your hand, and or you like get it from trigger and you can't use the ability whatsoever, you can still always discard this for your leader ability, right? So this is like the go-to discard card for your leader ability, because this is the hands down worst card to have in your hand, right? Because it's less viable than everything else. So if you get this in your hand, you just throw that shit out of there, and you're all good to go. So deck is incredibly consistent. It has a bunch of pieces that just fit together very nicely, and it can be very aggressive, like so strong. And that's how I managed to go 6-0 at this tournament, catching people by surprise with how aggressive it is. And like I said in that last game, the finals, I played 2 Inasumas from my hand and then boosted them, and that took my opponent by surprise as well. And I managed to clutch up and go 6-0. So I figured I'd hop into a couple of games at least and show you really what this deck is all about, and how fast it is, and how like strong it is to finish opponents fast when they're not expecting it. So let's hop into a couple of games real quick. This one, let's go in here. Let's move my camera real quick. Cam, let's move you over here, I guess. Sure, whatever, man. You can't see my hand. Let's move over here. All right. So we're going against Katakuri. This hand is pretty good, but we have no... Actually, we're going to keep it because we're going first. So, like I said before, Morley is a great card if you're going first, right? Obviously, having a BELO BETTY here would be sick. But considering we have all of these other pieces, it's not that deep. We'll just play Morley next turn, and then next turn after that, we'll play Ivankov. You see, that sucks. That's not what you want to draw. But I guess we'll just swing here. I could have swung 7 here, but I think they might take it anyways. Yeah. So no trigger there, that's great. We'll play Morley and pass. One thing to watch out for when you're playing against yellow is Gedatsu. Gedatsu is a threat. So you want to make sure that you take all of the damage you can early so that Gedatsu loses his power, right? Unfortunately, in this matchup right here, I played Morley, which is not great because he's still within Gedatsu range. But usually when they swing at you, that means that they don't have the Gedatsu. I'm actually going to throw Satori here. Usually you want to make sure that you throw your yellow cards first so you don't run out of steam. He just Thunderbolted. Okay, he Thunderbolted my Cracker. That's perfectly fine. Don't really care much about that. We're going to play BELO BETTY first to see if we can find something interesting here. I think we do grab the Lindbergh because it's a generally good card. We have a bunch of Ivankovs. We don't really need Koala. It's a 2K. We don't really need it. So we're going to grab the Lindbergh. And then we're going to play the Morley. No, sorry, the Ivankov. We're going to use our leader ability here, right? So we're going to trash the Morley. We're going to boost all of our characters. Use our Ivankov effect to bring out Karasu. And then we can swing here. And he's just a 4K leader. So now he needs to drop a 2K. Which is obviously very strong. There goes the Veggie. And then we're going to swing here. And he's going to take this one. And he's already down to 2 life, and my board is huge. He gets a trigger pair there, but that's fine. It's not the end of the world. He only has 1 character that I can swing into here. So even if he has multiple attacks, it doesn't really matter to me. Obviously, as you can see, I went down in hand size very fast, going down to only 2 cards. But that is like the way this deck plays, right? It just plays like this. You go ball sleep, instantly throw your entire hand, and go very strong. But he's down to 2 lives already. We're going to have 4 swings next turn unless he drops a Gedatsu, which he doesn't. So we technically could have lethal here. I'm going to see if we can do something cool here. We can play Karasu for free. You know what? I'm going to actually see what I can do here. I think I throw Ivankov. We're going to try this to go really, really aggressive here. All right, so we're going to do this. He's going to take this because this is way too expensive for him to counter out of. Yep. And then we're going to swing 7. He needs 3 cards to counter out of this. Yep. So you see, now he has nothing, right? He's completely empty-handed now, so we're just going to swing 6 here. Save that 1 card for save these 4 down for Lindbergh because he's going to take this hit anyways. And he triggers a Thunderbolt, which is obviously very rough, but it's alright. We have enough characters to keep us going next round. He could have lethal here, I guess. I didn't really think about that because Thunderbolt. Because I was thinking of getting rid of this blocker, right, with the Ivankov swing. But I guess technically he could have lethal here. But we'll see if he sees it. Usually they don't see it because you have a bunch of lives. So even if you have... Ooh, I think he sees... Oh, he sees it. Okay, let's see. We draw a 2K, that's great. You know, any Sanjis here as well just like wins us the game, right? So that is not that deep. And now he's thinking like if he does have it, right? He's swinging 6K. So now the thing is, do I take this? Wait, so he can swing 7 and 8. So he's using 6, 7, 8. All right, so I'm thinking I only have to get a 1K from this life, which I'm most likely gonna. So I'm gonna take it because I want him to invest more damage into swinging at my leader, right? So that I can keep more characters. And here we go. Not gonna risk it again. I could have, but no, we win. So there we go. GG's. So into Katakuri, it's actually a very strong matchup. As you can see, obviously he probably shouldn't have played that Thunderbolt, but then again, if he didn't, I'd have Cracker. Hard to say, but that was a great game. You saw it's very, very fast, right? Basically by turn 6 dawns, it's basically over, right? I think I would have gone to 7. No, I was at 7, and then yeah, I would have gone to 9, I guess. But it can go very fast, and that was a 5 life leader. All right, Sakazuki. So let's see how we go into Sakazuki. We get to go second. We draw an incredible hand here with our Searcher, our Ivankov, and double Inazuma, which is really strong. And when you only see one or no yellow cards in your hand, that's really good. Also, one of the things I like about this deck specifically is that it is so fast, right? So you don't really ever have to worry about, like, you can play so many games, which just lets you practice more, right? Oh, I actually need to move my camera so you can see what I'm searching for here. I'm gonna grab the Karasu. Could have grabbed another Inazuma, it would have been super fun, but Karasu, Ivankov into Karasu is just so strong, so we're gonna do that. But yeah, like playing such fast games lets you practice even more, because you can play more games against more opponents and against all of the different meta decks, and it's really fun. Like when I played in the Nationals, I ended up playing all my games within 5 to 10 minutes, so I had a bunch of spare time. And I was able to, you know, buy a bunch of boxes and open them and just have a lot of fun trading and stuff. Whereas like other people, they spent like, what is it, 50 minutes per game. He's going to swing into me here, which is interesting, because we're probably going to trigger something. We do. There's a Sanji. We're going to discard the Sanji, because we don't need the yellow cards in hand. And now he's going to feel the wrath of BELO BETTY here, because now we're going to drop the Ivankov. We're gonna have 3 swingers with our leader, as well as bring out the Karasu. We'll discard the Buddy Joe. He's no use to us right now. We'll bring out the Karasu, give -1000, and let's see this power. So he needs a 2k here. Let's see if he drops it. He does. He needs a 2k here. Let's see if he drops that. He does not, and then he has to take this one too, basically, right? Because this is a 3-card counter. Yeah. He triggered something. Maybe a Great Eruption. I wouldn't mind if he used Great Eruption right now. Okay, he ends up not using the trigger. All right, but yes, you can see we're playing against Sakazuki. He is on his 5 Dawn turn, and he has nothing that he can do about this, right? He can, like, at most go like Great Eruption into something and kill BELO BETTY and one of the cards, like probably Karasu. But next turn, like, he can't do anything more, right? He could Great Eruption, double Houndblaze, but like he has no removal that removes this amount of pressure. So he's sitting here happy with his 8 cards in hand. I only have 3. But look at this board, right? So technically he's just like +1 card, but he is less on life. We're gonna let him go there. Never counter out of the swings that they are doing on your smaller characters. That's just a general One Piece rule, but in this deck, more so than ever, because you need the hand size, right? We're probably gonna kill him next turn, actually, unless he's able to get rid of a lot of these characters. Which he can't. He can only get rid of 1, no matter what he's holding right here. Unless he's holding... No. Yeah, and he leaves. And he has, like, all of his pieces here. Look, he has all of the good cards in the deck, right? And he still can't do anything. And we actually had 2 more triggers down here, as well as another Ivankov. So, yeah, that was crazy. Crazy fast games. Dawn by, like, literally didn't even get to 6 Dawn. Very, very fast. So that's like kind of how the Sakazuki matchup goes. It's like if you can get the Ivankov into another 4 cost, you're doing great. This is... Oh, wow. This is not really even worth showing. Because first we're going second. We have 2 BELO BETTYs. And Nami is probably our best matchup. It doesn't quite keep up with the speed of BELO BETTY. And I have an absolutely incredible hand. So that's just unlucky. So we'll play the BELO BETTY. We will search for Lindbergh. You don't really need more than 1 Ivankov unless you think the game is gonna go on for long, like especially long. So yeah, we have the Inazuma now for pressure when he doesn't expect it. He's played 2 Kayas already though, which is a little bit scary. It's a very fast deck when you get the Kayas early. He leaves some Dawn up. We are still going to play this as normal. We're actually going to discard the Lindbergh here, because we do have 2. And we're going to sheet out another Lindbergh. We'll swing 5. And let's see. He counters. We'll swing 5. What did he counter with? Oh, Rubber Band of Doom. He takes that one. He triggers. What did he trigger? Another Rubber Band of Doom. Okay. And then he counters with the Gatling. But as you can see now, he's down to 3 cards in hand already. And as a Nami player, that's not what you want. There's the Pilaf, which is very strong, obviously. He's going to swing into one of the Bettys. That's fine. We're going to start this turn off by playing BELO BETTY. So we can search. And there is the Karasu. And then I think we boost here, right? Yeah, I think we throw the Koala here. And go into Karasu. And then we're just going to swing. And he leaves. That's fair. I drew crazy. He's a bad matchup. It's a bad matchup for him. But that's just the pressure that you get from BELO BETTY, is right. That you if you have a good hand and they don't draw, like, even if they draw perfectly, you're gonna win. This is an interesting matchup though. Whitebeard. So the problem with Whitebeard is actually that the 6k power makes a huge difference. A lot of my swingers, let's look at BELO BETTY, right, and Kuma, and then obviously my leader, they all kind of struggle to get to the 6k mark, right? But we did get the Karasu, which is a very important piece in this matchup. So great thing I searched. I was gonna play the Kuma to KO his Aso, but I went for the BELO BETTY instead, in hopes to find Karasu, so that I can pop off next turn. What you can also do against Whitebeard is that you can kind of wait and see what's gonna happen. Like if they're gonna just play slowly, then you can just wait for their life to drain and then go all in. I think I found that playing normally kind of helps as long as you have the Karasu. Interesting here. I kind of want to get rid of Das Makino, so I don't think I'm gonna play the Ivankov combo here, actually. Because it would allow me to get 2 swings in, but then he's gonna... Maybe I don't care about the Makino. Can play Cracker flat, and then he won't dare to attack me. You know what? I'm just gonna play it like I'm used to. And we're gonna throw the Koala. Boost these. Get out Karasu. Minus there. And then we're gonna swing at him. And either he'll take it or he'll lose cards in hand, which either way, it's a win for me. So he's thinking about it. He's just like, oh, 1, 2. Bring me down to 2. Bring goes down to 1. I think he's gonna counter here. I don't think he should be taking this hit. I think it's a little bit too early for him to take a hit. Whitebeard or no Whitebeard, like even if he's playing the Ultra Rush variant. Yep, so he counters that one. And I reckon he should counter this one too. He has a lot of cards in hand, but he takes it. All right. So going into the next turn. Let's see what he does here. He has 5 Dawn. We might see a Marco here taking care of the BELO BETTY, so he can swing into my face freely. Obviously, he doesn't need to do that because he has both of these that can swing into BELO BETTY. But we will see. We will see. He seems to be playing slow, which means either he's a new Whitebeard player or he's a very experienced Whitebeard player, and he's thinking about all of the different routes that he has and the options he has to go into specifically against BELO BETTY. We're gonna let that go through. Usually, like I said, it's not worth defending your small ones because you want him to swing into your life so you can get triggers and apply pressure, right? So right here, you see he's gonna swing into my leader, and then he's probably gonna Makino and swing into my leader again, which means triggers, which means pressure. I think it's a little bit more than half of this deck is triggers. So when you're taking life, you need to be like, okay, so let's say, for example, this first life I took, no trigger, right? So statistically, this should be a trigger. And it is. We're going to throw the cracker, get out on Morley. So you see, now he's worried here because he doesn't. I don't think he has the options, right? The only cards he could play now is either establish like a 4-cost Marco, or he's gonna go 6k. I think I'm gonna counter this one actually, because I already have 3 characters on board, right? So I don't need another character because I can't boost it anyways, right? We're gonna counter out of this one because Satori is literally only a counter card in hand right now. This is really rough because it's strong. We could try to go for board here, but maybe we should go for board here, actually. Maybe I'll try to apply a little bit of pressure on his leader first, just so that he... Oh, it's a 9, 4, 2... I can actually attach some here as well to make these attacks even more threatening. And he blocks, yep, expected, and then he brings him back. And then we're gonna swing... I think we'll swing 9k into here as well. Just see what he's doing here, because I reckon he'll just take all of these hits, right? You see, right now, okay, so now I can go for board because I'm not gonna kill him this turn anyways. Like I can swing 8 and 9, but he's just gonna counter out of that, and then but if I don't swing, he's still gonna take this life at the end of his next turn. So I can have lethal next turn, right? So instead, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna start by swinging into Makino for 5. We're gonna swing into... Maybe we don't swing with Ivankov, actually. I don't think we swing with Ivankov. I think we play Inazuma and swing with Inazuma here on Iso. See if he counters out of that. Oh, I should have attached 2 Dawn, actually. I have too much Dawn again. But if he... Okay, so he doesn't counter out of that. Then maybe we'll just play Kuma. We can... Actually, we can do this now, which is just going to apply a little bit more. He's just going to throw another card. I think it's still worth to do it, even if I leave Ivankov open, because he's not going to have very many swings anyways. I'm going to deal with that one. So he has 1 character on board. I have 5. He has a huge hand, but he also is going to go down to 0 life. So if he doesn't deal with this, he's in trouble. Best thing he can do right now is ace. But at the end of the day, he's going to need this blocker. He's going to need some Dawn up to defend himself, so he's not going to dare to play ace, even if that's going to help him get rid of some characters. And next turn, we got him. I think this is just GG. I think the pressure is too much. I don't think he can recover from that board clear right there. Yeah, there's the ace, which means he's going to be able to get rid of 2 or even 3 characters, but... Unfortunately, that is not going to be enough because he's going to go down to 0 and he has no active Dawn. Yeah, there you go. So he's going to deal with a lot of the characters here and leave just a couple weak ones. But I don't see how he can he defend like 6, 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's not perfect numbers. All right, but I guess we'll try it. We'll go here. We'll go 6. The thing is, he doesn't have any Dawn up, right? So he needs to have like all of his 2Ks in the entire world right here. And like, assuming that he has a bunch of Rad Beams and guard points in hand, or like Whitebeards and Marcos, like all of his pieces, like the aces, like he has a lot of pieces that aren't 2Ks, right? And he's, yeah, there it is. He has the Luffy. Yeah. So that's GG. So even into Whitebeard, it's a pretty strong matchup. He didn't really have any options. I think what he should have done was probably played this instead of Ace, because I only had one card in hand, so he could have got around there, and that way he could have kept 2 done up for Rad Beam and Guard Point to probably defend himself this turn. So a bit of misplay on his end, but I see why you would think that that's a better play. All right, I think that's it. That's a lot of games as a deck profile. I don't think we're going to do more than this. Unfortunately, I don't have any recordings of the tournament, and the tournament organizers, NoHeroes, they unfortunately haven't uploaded any VODs or anything, so I can't show you any gameplay. I would love to, because apparently, according to a friend of mine who watched the stream, the commentators were smack talking me in the final game, and they were like, "Oh, BELO BETTY's screwed, man. There's no way he can get out of this one. He's sure dead now." And then I win, right? I whip out the double in the sim and I win. Very clutch. But sure, if you want to go ahead and try this deck list at home, it is right here. It's a very standard deck list. So please do try it if you have BELO BETTY. It's a very cheap deck. The only expensive cards are this Sanji and this Cracker, which hopefully you got your hands on with set 4 and set 3. If not, these are kind of interchangeable, and then especially in OBO6, they're definitely interchangeable with another, like with the 5-cost Ivakov and the 4-cost Inazuma. But it changes the deck pretty drastically in set 6. So this is it for now. This is the set 5 deck. So I went 8-4 in nationals, and this is how I went 6-0 in the 250 player local. So please do give this a try and leave a like. Leave a comment saying how much you love BELO BETTY and how much you love off meta decks, because you use my people, right? All right, I'm gonna fucking shut up now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next video.